Hey everyone, Mac Gardner here, certified financial planner and author of Motivate Your Money. I am joined today by the one, the only Toussaint Bailey. Toussaint, good to see you, sir.
Mac, good to be with you.
Brother, I have been a fan of you and your work for some time when we were putting together this project. I'm thinking about folks that I'd really like to sit with and have a drink and say, hey, you know what? You've been a ward. You have been a steward of people's financial lives for some time. You know, what would be your top three motivational money messages? And so I've been looking forward to speaking with you and hearing your message. But before we jump into that, Toussaint, please tell the folks out there a little bit about you and your mission.
Founder and CEO of a firm called Uplifting Capital. And so we do impact investing in the private markets, working primarily with private wealth advisors, multifamily offices, some smaller foundations. We help folks align whatever their impact goals are and their money goals, specifically in things like private equity, venture capital, real estate, and infrastructure. And so that's what we do. We've been doing that for quite a while. We believe in sort of not only impact, but also the personalization of money and what money can do and the fulfillment that comes from personalizing what your money does. And so that's the ethos that the company was built out of. Prior to that, I grew in RIA with some partners and eventually sold that earlier this year. And that was built around this whole idea of fulfillment and helping people find fulfillment with their money. This latest company that I've started is the manifestation of my own fulfillment. But prior to that, I was helping others kind of connect their money and fulfillment and do that in a way that left them financially whole. And so that's been a passion for a while. Spent a good chunk of my professional career practicing law of all things before I got into finance. And so, yeah, I have a very jagged path, but feel like I've ended up in the right spot for myself here.
And with all that being said, Tucson, that is why I'm so keen to hear what your top three motivational money messages are. So, as I said before, the top three for everything, right?
Yeah.
Cars, sodas, you name it, there's a top three list. So, as you have walked your path in this industry, as you engage folks, would love to hear or know what your top three motivational money messages would be.
Yeah, so I think I'll get personal, and I will. I think there are advisors who folks could work with. There is literature you can read to get technical about what stocks and bonds and allocations you should be thinking about. But for me, I think I'll talk a little bit about what life plans and how I proceeded in life decisions in a way that's been accretive to my financial situation. And so, number three for me, you heard about a lot of transitions, would be being intentional about your transitions. When I was thinking about going from a really decent salary as a partner at a law firm and then jumping into starting something at Enzo Wealth Management, now Corio, I had to think about how I was going to replace a significant W-2 salary, what the first few years would look like, how much runway I had, what my wife was doing and what her income looked like. And so we thought about that for literally years. I wound down my work at the law firm rather than jumping off a cliff and going, I'm done with this. I want to go do this next thing. I went from 25% of my time in the new job and 25% of my compensation given up as a partner at the law firm. Then I went to 50%. Then I went to 0%. And then I drew down on some equity that I had in the partnership to last for another year. And as I was ramping up income in one place, I knew I was winding down income in another place. And there were a whole lot of spreadsheets and a whole lot of conversations and was a whole lot of planning. I was having my kids number 2 and 3 at the same time of this
Oh,
transition. We were having
no,
twins
no
and
issue there.
so
No.
yeah, but the stress, I can imagine what the stress of that would have been for not only myself, but my wife and my family. if I wasn't very, very intentional
Mm-hmm.
about, after making the decision that, okay, I'm ready to transition from law, like really slowing down and being intentional about what that transition looked like. So being intentional about transition, and not a lot of people sit still these days, right? Like, I don't think we're at a time anymore where you're expected to sit in a job for 40
10,
years,
15, 20 years. Yeah.
higher, right? And so that would be number three. Number two would be start now with money habits. Start early with money habits. Mac, you're no stranger to this. You know, even teaching kids about money habits, right? And that goes not only for things like saving and investing, but even thinking about yourself as a philanthropist, and you know, not waiting to think about giving and connecting your money to your values until you've kind of amassed this fortune, like planning for what that looks like and incorporating that into your life early. That's been something that's served me. And sometimes, you know, only thing you have to give is time, but just thinking about those buckets and thinking about kind of connecting your habits to what you see yourself being in the future, and what a start at those habits looks like now, has been something that served me also.
You know what I love about your first point and your second point? They both hinge on planning. They both hinge on, look, what I like to say about the planning process, I love sharing this. Financial planning is simply bringing the future into the present to do something about it today. That's literally all we're doing. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so, okay, I need to make this transition. I need to understand and bring in all these different partners that are going to potentially be impacted by these financial decisions, and make sure that we're on the right path. Let's forecast, let's look at that stuff. I think that's awesome, because you said you didn't come from a financial planning background. You were an attorney before you did this, but still you had that peace of mind in there to look and say, okay, hey, let's look at this, let's look what our options are, and let's forecast what this will look like. I could fairly presume that you have been a planning type of person throughout your life.
Absolutely. And about, even as a lawyer, I mean, I was a finance person, right? I was a finance undergrad and did economics. So I'm comfortable in both planning and also in finance. But yeah, that's not what I was doing for a living. I was practicing law, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then now you've got the habits, which I love, which if my three kids were here, they're like, yes, Papa, we know habits, behaviors, traits. Good financial habits become good financial behaviors, become good financial traits. So I think your habit point is spot on. And the earlier we can get it done, the better. And the earlier we can educate young people, as to what their options are, I think, helps them tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold down the road. So, all right. So we got 2 points. Is there
So
something else you want to
number
talk
one,
about? Hit us with number one. What's number one?
number one, which is number one in my life in everything, not just in terms of financial advice and goals, relationships. Mindfulness around and awareness around how your relationships support your financial goals, support your life goals, give or deplete your energy. I think if you started with and only did that relationships piece, the right relationships would encourage the right habits. They would encourage the right kinds of transition. So my number one is awareness, intention, and mindfulness around your people relationships and who you bring into your life, and what they support and encourage.
That is so strong. Um, I I will say that we've done a number of these interviews, Toussaint, and that may be the first time that someone has mentioned external factors that can influence a lot of the things that we do, especially when it comes to our money, because a lot of times the decisions that we make about money are behavioral, and that is determined by the folks that surround you and how they view things and how they do things. And so that's interesting. Unpack that one a little bit more for us.
I'll unpack that one because I live my life by, lead companies by something called the waterfall, and we have gone round and round about whether relationships should be at the top of the waterfall. So the waterfall is this cascading set of values, and the values at the top serve the next values. Each of them in themselves lead to fulfillment, but they also support the next set of values. And so at the top of those values for me is loving and trusting relationships, both with yourself and with others. Like if you have loving and trusting relationships, it's kind of the best stuff you get out of life. but it also supports the next value, which is self-mastery. So self-awareness, self-development, self-actualization are all supported by the right relationships. And so for me, like those habits are really supported by, encouraged by, and also created by the right kinds of relationships, including the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so that leads to the right habits. From there, you look at creating, right? So if you have both healthy relationships and you're doing some healthy self-mastery, healthy self-actualization, then co-creation and collective impact is kind of the next step in that waterfall. And if you're creating in the right way and impacting with others, then personal rewards naturally are a consequence. And so there's this sequence of values, the sequence of sources of fulfillment that I believe in, both for groups and for individuals. But it always, to me, starts with the relationships.
I told you this is going to be a good one. Folks, I told y'all this would be worth your time to hear this brother talk about what he does. And the fact that you're combining that essence, Toussaint, with the capital and the money and the ability to drive all those great internal drivers to direct your financial aspects of your life. I think that's phenomenal. So could you please, sir, could you give us a recap of your top 3 motivational money messages?
Yeah, top 3. Number 3, intentionality around transitions. So assume that transitions are going to happen. And when that comes, when you get the internal motivation to do something and do something different, be intentional about how you go about moving from one thing to another. A second is start your habits now. So don't assume that you're going to create these money habits or any kind of habits down the road. Start with the seeds of whoever you want to be today. And then number 1, above all else, is a mindfulness and awareness around the kinds of relationships you've created or the kinds of relationships you've allowed into your life.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Toussaint, your clients, those around you are blessed to have you in their lives. I'm blessed to call you a friend. You have supported me in so many different ways. You support a lot of other folks in this industry in a lot of different ways. And so, as I like to say, the financial planning journey is a long one. The journey continues, brother.
The journey continues, Mac. I so appreciate you having me, and I appreciate you. You are a light in this industry, and I feel honored to be in your orbit. So thank you. Keep going. I believe in what you're doing, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Take care.